The feature-length documentary Steelers, the world's first gay rugby club, had its debut earlier this year at Sydney's Queer Screen Film Fest. The movie is raw, it's emotional. It talks about the challenges that young gay people face in life, bullying, struggling with their sexuality, but it also goes on to offer a wonderful solution. The movie was made by Eammon Ashton-Atkinson, originally a Brisbane boy from here in Brisbane, Australia. Eamon now lives overseas, works for the Australian 10 network as a foreign correspondent. Eamon joins us now from Washington, DC. Hello, Eamon.
Hello, Destiny. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
Eamon, as a news reporter, what prompted you to choose the story of the world's first gay rugby team for your first feature-length documentary?
Well, I was actually playing in the team myself, so it was it all kind of happened by a bit of an accident. Actually, I'd moved to London from Brisbane about 4 years ago, and I didn't really have many friends in London. So my flatmate was a member of the King's Cross Steelers, the world's first gay rugby club. And so I just went down one weekend to have a go and really loved it and found this kind of incredible community that I'd never really experienced before. In Brisbane, I kind of, I'd go to the beat and the family nightclub, but I didn't really know a lot of gay people outside of the clubbing scene. So to kind of have this community where it was just sort of beyond the clubbing scene and it was almost like a big family. There were 200 gay rugby players. It was just incredible. And we were playing in this big tournament in Amsterdam where all the teams from around the world compete, including the Brisbane Hustlers. They came over and I got concussed a couple of weeks before the tournament. And I'm a TV reporter for Channel 10 and I do my own camera work. So I just thought, you know what, I don't want to be drunk on the sidelines. So I'm going to pick up my camera, film like a fly on the wall and see what happens. And all this amazing stuff happened. And I picked 3 characters in the club and they were very honest and open about their own individual stories. And it just sort of all happened by accident, really.
So you met the Brisbane Hustlers in Amsterdam. Jason, the president, Dale, the vice president.
It is. I know them both.
So it sounds like joining the
100%. And it sort of was, it was amazing to me how much it actually changed my life because like many gay people, I got bullied a lot at school. I was called a poofter, a faggot, a fudge packer every single day of high school. And it really took a toll. I became this kind of insular person who didn't really have confidence. And even though I kind of projected this confidence as an adult, I had all these scars left from all the trauma of that I didn't really deal with. And I found when I joined the Steelers that it was the first time that I felt like I really belonged and people liked me for being me and I didn't have to pretend to be somebody else. And I was looking around and there were 200 active players and it was having the same impact with a lot of people. And so that's kind of why I wanted to make the film. And I think it's had this amazing reception and the fact that it's getting a cinema run in Australia is just beyond me because it was literally just me with my camera, me editing afterwards, me funding it for a few $1,000s from my own pocket because I really believed in this film. And the fact that it's going to be an event cinema, something like 50 screens around Australia, I just
even in Nambour, I noticed.
And you know what? My mum is going to be there because she lives on the Sunshine Coast and she's going to be yeah.
So the bullying you experienced at school here in Brisbane led to you struggling with your sexuality. And one particular incident led to you being outed.
It was year 11 and a guy that I met in my sports class at school, we kind of slept over and had messed around as kids that age do. And he was secretly filming it. And he ended up dropping out of school and kind of from my memory was sort of a bit obsessed and stuff. And I just wanted to cut all ties. And then he actually came to the school and showed the videotape. And I was boarding at the time in Brisbane. And I just remember like my whole world kind of like crashing down around me. And it was funny, I called my dad and he came down and spoke to the parents and got the tape destroyed. And we never spoke about it. And even though it kind of confirmed their suspicions, I didn't come out. I was outed, and I just sort of said we were drunk and messing around. And we never spoke about it ever since, even after I came out. And then when I made this film and decided to include that story in there, you know, my parents knew I was making a documentary about the rugby club. They didn't know that I was going to be featuring in it and telling my own personal story. So I flew back from London for a holiday, and I sat them down for a screening, and my heart was in my chest. And I had to pre-warn them, and yeah, they were really proud and really happy. And my dad's very protective, so he was a bit concerned about, you know, should I be putting this out into the world? But in the end of the day, it's something that happened, and you know, it kind of illustrates and it explains why, as an adult, I had all these problems like fitting in, because I put up such strong brick walls that it really took a lot to tear down. You know, the three characters I interview, surprisingly, one of them is Nick, who is a lesbian coach. So you don't expect to watch a gay rugby documentary and have one of the characters this amazing, powerful woman. And she talks about the fact that she really struggles as a female in this sport, even playing in the gay sport. And that kind of, I never really stopped and thought about like how even in the gay world, she would face misogyny and sexism. And then we had Drew, who's this fabulous drag queen. He's this American guy. He's a prop, so he's big. And he's like this fierce player on the pitch. And then in the club, he's this wonderful drag queen who can like jump and do the splits. And, and then Simon is this really beautiful soul. He's very handsome. From the outside, you think, oh, he's got everything. He's good at sport, he's popular. But actually, when he came out, he fell in love with his best straight friend, who completely rejected him and said some very harsh things. And he spiraled into this depression. And it was the rugby club that kind of, he said, saved his life. So, you know, the film, it's just me with the camera. It's not like the most cinematic looking, but I think it's the power of the story that gets it there. So, yeah. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's just that feeling of being in a team, and as gay people, as queer people, a lot of the times in school, we're excluded from those opportunities. We're the last picked. We're the ones that are made fun of. We're not invited to participate. So to be able to kind of reclaim that space and have that wonderful feeling of being a part of a team, celebrating together. I mean, there's no better way than getting to know someone if your head is, you know, in their butt, pushing forward in a ruck. And you can sort of afterwards have a beer and laugh about the game. So yeah, it's just about reclaiming our place on the pitch. And people sort of say to me, well, since I made the film, why do we need a gay sporting team? Shouldn't you just play in a normal team if you're wanting, you know, inclusivity and not wanting to be segregated? And I understand where they're coming from, but I think the point is that we do have this shared collective experience of being an outsider, and to have that community where we can just be 100% ourselves is just, you know, wonderful. So yes, sport, you know, it's funny because I used to hate sport, and now, you know, it's changed my life, and I even met my husband in the team. So all you single people out there, it's a great way to meet people.
Fabulous. I think you just doubled the membership of most Brisbane sporting teams. I can't let you go without bringing up the fact that you are in Washington, D.C. at this amazing time in American and world history. What is it like, Eammon, being right there at the centre of everything with the American election coming up on 3rd November?
The night Trump got COVID, I sort of usually have my phone by my bed, but I was having a night off because I'd just done the debates, and I was in Ohio and I'd been working late nights, and I had my phone off downstairs, and then we were drinking, and normally we don't let our dog in the bed, but we're a little bit drunk, and we're like, oh, we'll just let her sleep in the bed. Anyway, she was quite restless, and then at 1:30 in the morning, my husband John got up to kind of put her in a crate, and then he saw his phone. He's like, oh my God, Trump's got COVID. And I bolted out of bed because I worked for 10 News and it was before daylight savings had kicked in. So I'm on air at 3 a.m. if there's a story. So I had an hour and a half to basically go from sleeping in bed to outside the front of the White House in a suit and tie. And mind you, I set up my own camera and do my own live shot. And it's quite hard to get an Uber at that time of the morning. So it all worked out. I got there 10 minutes beforehand and was the second journalist in the world outside the White House reporting. Which was crazy. And that week was just a blur. I mean, taking a step back and looking at where America is, it's just so divided and toxic and crazy at the moment. And you just can't have a civil conversation with people, and people come up to me and want to chat because they see the camera. But I just have a rule now where I don't try and talk to people if I'm working, because you just end up spending 3 hours chatting. No one is prepared to change their mind or to listen. So yeah, the feeling is there's 3 weeks to go until the election. Donald Trump is behind in the polls, but that was the case last time. So for those who don't support him, I think there's a bit of fear that, will he be able to pull an upset again? So it's just kind of everyone's holding their breath really to see what happens.
Thank you so much for joining us, Eammon Ashton-Atkinson. Don't forget, folks, Steelers. It's a story of the world's first gay rugby team. It's a personal story. It's a touching story. It's a real story. And it's showing around Australia. Click on the link for screenings in your city. And it's in places all over the country. So check it out. I believe in New Zealand as well, Eammon.
Yes. No, honestly, I'd appreciate the support because, I worked so hard and it's a story I wish I saw when I was growing up and struggling. So if people are able to buy a ticket and make a night of it with some friends, I'd really appreciate that.
Thank you.